What's going on, guys? Welcome into today's episode. We got a great show for you guys. I got myself, Mr. Mattier, and of course, my brother,
Mr. Breedwell.
Mr. Breedwell.
What's up, guys?
Hey, happy holidays, and it is today, December 21st, as we're recording this. It is
ones of the year.
The kickoff of Christmas week.
I love it.
And, man, what a year it has been.
Ow, yeah,
I can't believe we're at the end of 2020.
I can't either, because I was thinking about yesterday, like talking about like back in March, and man, being like, I think at the end of July this will be done, because then summertime is gonna roll around, and man, we've been on mask mandates for 6 months now. As of 2 days ago, 6-month anniversary in California, because June 19th is when we mandated masks, and now they've been mandated for 6 solid months now.
It's been a wild year, that's for sure. And it was funny, I was watching Saturday Night Live this weekend, and Kristen Wiig was on it, and she was like, thank goodness 2020 is over and 2021 is right around the corner so we can go back to normal. And then just the way she played out, she's like, no, oh, okay, all right. So it was just like, man, everybody's like, oh, new year, new life,
doesn't work
back to normal. And man, there's a lot of stuff that still is gonna have to work itself out, and I think that's going to create a lot of opportunity. It's definitely going to require some skilled sailing, in the choppy waters that we know we're just going to be going in. We're all in this storm together, but
100%.
Some people are in a yacht, some people are in a nice little pontoon boat, some people are in
call me
a lifeboat, some people are just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there is some big news this week. Some help is on the way. Before we kick things off, we've been tracking our good old friend, Breedwell's favorite, Bitcoin.
One Bitcoin.
$23,090. $23,090, as you guys can see here. First and foremost, if you guys are new to the show, welcome. We talk all things money on this episode. Millionaire Mindcast. Every Wednesday, we drop this episode on YouTube. We drop it on Monday for you guys. So if you are new to the show, welcome. We are grateful to be in your ear, hanging out with you guys, talking real estate, talking Wall Street, talking really now this year more than anything, a lot of politics and everything that's been going on, because at the end of the day, that is really dictating what happens in real estate, what happens in Wall Street.
Yeah.
More than it's ever been before.
Yeah, like you're saying, especially this year because of what's been going on, everything is hypersensitive and even more correlated than it ever was, because one move in one area almost directly affects another area.
Yep.
Not necessarily like price-wise, but maybe like activity-wise. So when people are getting excited about real estate, that's making them money. They're taking that money and then using it to buy buy investments. When that investment makes them money, they're turning around and using that to buy real estate. So it's just things are a little bit more intertied and intermingled than they have been in the past, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been in the game this year, man, it's been a fun year. It's been a great learning year. It's been a great profit year. It's been a lot of things that we haven't seen in previous cycles and previous years. And so we're going to be talking today about stimulus updates, vaccine updates, and really with all of this quote unquote good news, why is the market responding poorly right now? So we're going to talk about that and how that ties into real estate as well. But again, if you guys are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I don't know what happened to us on the screen, but subscribe. If you guys are new to the show and you haven't taken advantage of our free financial X-ray that Ryan and his team will do for you, guys can text the word X-ray to 844-447-1555. As well as if you guys want to get on my syndication deals list, you're looking for passive investments. This is for my accredited investors who listen in on the show. You can text the word deals to 844-447-1555. Got a lot of exciting stuff this year for you guys. With that being said, we also have a new website for you guys to go and check out. This is for all of you who are looking to leverage life insurance to become the bank one of the best investment vehicles out there that not a lot of people leverage in the proper way. This is one thing that Ryan and his team are experts at. You can head over to becomethebank.info to set up a call with Ryan and discuss how you can take advantage of this vehicle. With that being said, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, and we're going to jam it into a short and concise episode for you guys today. So with that being said, we've got some big news in terms of what is going on with additional COVID strains coming out. The UK talking about really tight and stringent lockdowns. A lot of Europe is now banning any travel from the UK into different areas of Europe.
Turkey was like a big one. They were like, no turkey, no. There's 3 I know that have been announced, and Turkey was one of them.
I mean, these are some stringent lockdowns, too, talking about how in certain provinces of the UK, you cannot mingle with anybody outside of your household. You can't do anything from a one-to-one, face-to-face interaction. Very, very tight. So this could be something that we see. I think there was another headline talking about South Africa seeing another strain. I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm not saying I do yet. I think it's still new. But again, these are going to be things that we have to continue to just deal with and take it all in and figure out. You've been through some pretty insane headlines throughout 2020, right? So I think if anything, it's, trusting in your gut and how you've, learned to handle and respond to these kinds of challenging things that impact your investing goals, your life, your career, your business. So with that being said, we are starting to see big news over the weekend. First shipments of Moderna's coronavirus vaccine begin distribution. They got the FDA approval on the emergency use authorization. And I mean, those bad boys are, they got out quick.
Yeah, I was talking to Matt. It was like 3 days ago, day 4 today, but they're like today they've landed in almost all 50 states. There's I don't know if they're in boxes or containers, but the shipments of them have arrived in the States, and I think that is just like wildly impressive. So, Operation Warp Speed definitely working. The distribution phase of it is now happening. I think some things that are being focused on in the media, which is like, again, why I'm like really hesitant on watching the news a lot of times, but like states not getting enough of the vaccine and just focusing negative. It's very good that for those that want the vaccine that it's out. Because
are you getting it?
No, I'm not getting it. For
anybody that going to get it?
No.
Pops, anybody in your world that may be compromised?
Nope. My sister works at a hospital. I don't believe she's getting it. My wife is an RN. She's not getting it.
I know a lot of people that work.
I think my grandmother is getting it because she's like she's in her late 70s, early 80s, and my nana, I believe, is also getting it because she's in her late 70s.
Yeah, but we got a friend who, like I said, I think in a previous show, is head up high in a big hospital organization here in California, and he's not getting it. A lot of other individuals that are physicians and frontline nurses aren't getting it. They may end up mandating it. They're talking about mandating it for kids in schools. But there's been a lot of also, and you got to be relatively reasonable in looking at some of the headlines that are coming out with, there was a nurse that fainted.
Pre-existing health conditions.
And there was one, she's not a public speaker. 2, she's been working the front lines and is probably exhausted, right? So is this a side effect of the vaccine? I don't know. But right to say that, people are dropping dead and, or people are having massive issues, that's kind of to be expected in, outlier cases. So I'm not pro-vaccine. I'm not against it at the same time. I'm just pro-choice, right? And giving people the ability to decide whether they want to or not. And my buddy said, hey, if you are of childbearing age or you're really 50 and under, you live a relatively healthy lifestyle, you take care of your body, you get adequate amounts of sleep, you're being smart and responsible, there really is no need or reason for you to take it unless you really want to, right? And if you want to, hey, I support that. I think this is a good thing.
Yep.
For
the more that people feel comfortable and the higher the consumer's confidence is, good on me.
Yes, and that really ties into, as these things are positive, we've been, waiting for this headline, which is the the politicians coming to the table and getting an actual stimulus, second round of stimulus put together to help a lot of our economy and individuals who are struggling big time right now. And I wanted to take some time and break down what is actually in this stimulus deal, so that way you guys know, especially if you're somebody who needs this support, or how this ties into your business, or ties into your community, or ties into your loved ones or your customers, because this is important. This second wave is, of the coronavirus is obviously in the headlines very, very bad and grim and dark. And so when you get these vaccines starting to roll out, and you get this stimulus now getting pushed into the hands of Americans, overall, you would think this is going to have some positive ripple effect in, one, psychology, two, dollars getting moved around in a positive direction. And it's interesting because we've been seeing that, at least this morning, the market is not responding as positively as I would have expected it to. And I'm curious on your thoughts as to why before we break down the stimulus deal.
I think that there's what I saw over the weekend was the futures activity move up sharply in value stocks and financials. So the Dow being the large major index that's going to track kind of that metric best was looking good. The S&P was looking good, and the NASDAQ was down. Before,
and then you said, look at all the red and look at what's green.
Yeah. This morning I was looking at a heat map, which is kind of just a shot, like literally an image that shows me areas of the market and kind of the major players in those areas. The larger their box, the more volume they trade, the larger the impact they have. And the main area of the market that was nice and green was bank stocks and financials, and that's going to be probably for the foreseeable, because again, I told you guys that was the area of the market that has kind of lagged a lot of this reopening. A lot of the people were putting their money in what we've deemed as called stay-at-home stocks. So Netflix, Amazon, stuff like that, stuff you do when you're at your house. And so there's been this kind of, am I getting away from tech? Because a lot of the tech that's been popular is the stay-at-home stocks. I don't think tech's going anywhere, but I think being so overweight in tech like people have been and getting these massive returns is kind of a thing of the past. Things have to kind of catch up to each other. So that's what we were seeing today. As I am speaking right now, I know, because I double-checked before we started recording, we're starting to get some pickup in volume. So as the market was going down, there was purchase orders being put in. So bullish sentiment has sort of taken over a little bit this morning. That doesn't mean it's going to be that way for the rest of the day. But what really is happening is the market was going to be green, pulled back red, in my opinion, because people are starting to kind of weigh this virus thing. It's like once we get a piece of good news, we have this huge chunk of bad news to kind of supplement with it. And it's like we can't catch a catalyst. So I really think that that's what's going on today. I think what we'll see is over the week, people will start to make their decisions on, is the information that they're getting quelling their worries. And I think that for long-term investors, you should really be looking long-term, 3, 4, 5 years.
Don't ride the highs, don't ride the lows.
Yeah, because if you try to time the market, you're going to lose a ton of money.
There's a lot of people that got into the day trading space this year, right? Because
yeah.
it was,
oh man, that's been the bane of my existence. People trying to say, oh, well, I'm getting,
I'm making money left and right,
I'm making money. I mean, I was talking to one of my clients the other day. She's like, hey, I need to open how do I move my brokerage account? And I said, oh, okay, great. Do you want me to do it? Oh, no, I can do it. I made like 101% so far. Yeah.
Let's see if you do that
year over year.
Yeah.
And the thing I always say to people, guys, is if it was sustainable, I promise you Wall Street would be doing it. It's not. And the problem is you'll make 101% to lose 300. So it's like what you said. It's like playing the slots, right? It is like it's
every once in a while you have a big come up, but that isn't something that you're going to go to the casino every time and come out with big gains in your pockets stuffed full of cash.
It's just not sustainable. There's so much more money than you or I or all of us combined have that is so much more smarter than you or I combined, and they would be doing it if it worked. It just does not work long term that way. That's why people don't do it. I'm digressing. On the stimulus deal, what do we got cooking there? It's looking like the stimulus bill has to be voted on, but I mean, just in my opinion, and Matt would share this, it's going to pass.
Yes.
It has to get to the floor to be voted on. That's the big hurdle. Once it's able to be voted on, it's going to pass. What do we have? $900 billion. What's the majority?
$900 billion. That is obviously a lot less than what Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi wanted. It's more than what McConnell and a lot of the GOP wanted. But at the end of the day, I think it's a healthy balance and meeting in the middle. So what does this include, and how does it tie into what you got going on? So
$600 a week instead of that $1,200 that we were getting prior.
Well, you got $600
per individual,
per adult and child,
up to $2,400, right?
Up to $2,400 for a household of 4.
For qualifying households, again, you have to qualify for this.
Which is $75,000 annual income
for 2019.
For 2019.
So
if you made under $75,000,
nobody in California.
Yeah, right. But then you have your unemployment benefits, which have been extended instead of the $600 per week that it was, which people were making hand over fist on, and we're stoked, and we're not really wanting to go back to work. Now it's just $300 per week on unemployment, and that should start what they're saying on December 27th.
I was going to say, like, beginning of next week.
Beginning of next week, they said hopefully those checks will start going out, and I believe based on what they're saying, they should be directly deposited into your account. You know, I want to talk about how this whole stimulus package impacts the dollar, which we'll discuss on the tail end of this. But the breakdown of this is you've got $275 billion for PPP, so they're doing another big round for businesses. Yeah. The concern here that I think a lot of people have is, you know, talking about the small business being the backbone of America. Well, the small business actually is not prioritized in this bill. It's more of the
large businesses. It's kind of, they don't say that directly, but if you look, even this last round, they make it the process to get the loan is extremely cumbersome and tedious. And when you don't have a legal team or an accounting team that can quickly help you navigate those loopholes, because there's a lot of people going to be asking the same question, it makes it very difficult for the small and the medium-sized businesses to get their foot in line as fast as these large businesses are. And what happens is these large businesses come in, they do their paperwork, they get it done, and they take the PPP loans, and then they kind of sit on them, and they may not need them, and they may need them. But in my opinion, that should be, once your company makes a certain amount of money, you have to kind of self-insure yourself for this kind of stuff. You should be insulated for stuff like this.
Yeah.
So that's I think going to be an issue, and I really do think, you know, as big of a number as it is, $230+ billion.
275 for PPP, and if you got PPP the first go around, you have an opportunity to get back in line and get it again.
It's just going to get slurped up really fast. $275 billion is not that much money in the grand scheme of things. So that amount of money is going to be gone. I would not be surprised before year end, and we have 9 days.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. $45 billion for transportation. They mentioned Amtrak, other municipalities that are ultimately supporting infrastructure and travel. Mm-hmm. We got $82 billion for schools. That was a big one. They want to obviously get kids back in schools. Our youth need to be back in schools. They need to be socializing. They need to be getting educated in the proper ways.
Agreed.
And there's a lot of people that don't have the benefits of and luxuries of staying at home. Mm-hmm. Single moms, you got single parent households, you got even dual income households that have to work in order to keep food on the table, that have been heavily impacted by this, not being able to put their kids in schools. And then you got the teachers unions that are obviously concerned for their teachers. So there's been a lot of issues there. They're throwing a lot of money in getting schools reopened and done safely. You got $20 billion for vaccine distribution. That's why you got FedEx, UPS, DHL that are making hand over fist right now. Those have been some pretty high-performing stocks, right?
Yes. Yep.
You got $13 billion for major expansion in food stamps. You've got $1.4 billion. This was a very interesting one. I threw an asterisk next to this because I thought it was quite funny that he slipped it in there. $1.4 billion for Trump's wall and border protection between the U.S. and Mexico.
Don't let him fool you. The wall is going up.
It's very interesting that they made that happen. And they also talked about, this was a big thing, and again, I think it's still a little gray and murky, but PPP money can become forgivable, which was something that they were going to make it taxable. And I think it still may be if you don't qualify. And the way you would qualify is if and only if your revenue in your company shows a loss for 2020.
And I believe that means, and do not quote me on this because I don't know, but I do believe that means a negative revenue for the year. Not like I made 100 million, now I only made 99 million. I have a loss in revenue. I think it actually means you are reporting a loss, meaning a negative revenue for the year. That would mean you spent more than came in.
Mm-hmm.
Not I made less revenue than I made last year, because you're going to have to grab the world's smallest violin, I think, for that one.
Yeah, right.
I don't think that's going to be a qualifier.
Poor you.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a qualifier.
So then with all of this printing, this is, my big question is, last week we saw a lot of headlines come out in terms of the dollar getting crushed.
Mm-hmm.
How does this impact the dollar, the stability of the dollar worldwide, and really just this issue and concern people have over unlimited quantitative easing and just saying, you know what, no matter what happens, we know the government's going to bail us out. And the slippery slope that can lead, to in terms of more of a socialistic approach to solving problems. And as more and more small businesses, more and more people are laid off, the open free market is really controlled by the ultra elites and wealthy, this ideology of socialism, and the fact that, with the dollar being very volatile,
it is.
What does that mean for the average investor that is listening right now?
Well, the dollar, just like any other currency, has its moves. It goes up and down, just like stocks go up and down, bonds go up and down, derivatives go up and down, commodity values go up and down. It's the way of trade, supply and demand drive the price of goods overall for a general term or general concept. I would say, though, that, as we're sitting here today, the index that I track for the U.S. dollar is UUP up. I don't currently have any positions in that, nor am I indicating that anybody should take a position in that index fund. But that's the Invesco US bullish dollar index. So when the dollar is doing well, that index normally does very well. It is up today. And I saw the inflows of cash to that start when this new strain of the virus was starting to be talked to. And that is indicative and tells me that people still flock to the US dollar as a safety place when there is a lot of volatility in the market.
Global market, right? Because it's not just the U.S. that is having to print money and create stimulus and support their country and their citizens. This is a global pandemic. Now, if it was just the U.S. just printing money left and right,
that doesn't make any sense.
That would be a much greater concern, right, for the U.S. dollar.
Yep.
The fact that, and I'm curious, and I don't know if we haven't done a ton of research on this part. I'm just curious on your thoughts on it in terms of, has China and has, let's say, Russia, what is their stimulus and the amount of...
I would be talking out of my ass if I answered that question. I have no idea what they're doing for their stimulus because their economies just work completely different. China's a communist country, so their economy is like a puppet show. It's however the government wants it to play out.
Right.
And they let it look like it's working like a regular economy, but they just constantly increase or decrease the value of their currency to affect their economy.
And the reason I'm asking is just because it would be curious to know if China and Russia are the two superpowers, competing against the U.S.
I mean, they are, but they're 15 to 20 years technologically behind us, and they're like many more that financially.
I'm just curious on the kind of economic jockeying of position potentially in the world power scale in terms of how they're trying to.
Nobody can out muster or out. I don't know if shoulder. The United States has the biggest posture and posturing in the world. They can take on multiple It could literally be China and Russia versus the United States from a monetary standpoint. The United States would just drop head. It wouldn't even be a competition.
So overall, your outlook is you're not too concerned about how this is impacting the U.S. dollar.
No.
Short term and long term.
It's going to affect it, but there's things that you can do. So a lot of the times the back half of a story is not told. So all these headlines are like shockers or to scare you. Oh, the dollar's going down. Oh, the dollar's going up. There's more to the story.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is just a way to get clicks and for a media outlet to get you excited and read the article. It's not that big of a deal. It's been going on that way forever. It's happened that way multiple times. The dollar has tanked in value. The dollar has spiked in value and caused hyperinflation. There's just things to do. So what the real thing is when you hear that information, do you know how to react? Do you know what to do? Do you know what moves to make? And that's where I as an investment advisor for my clients, I step in. Most people don't, and I would just make a blanket statement to say 99% of the people that listen to the show don't. Even if you think you do, you don't. It's just you have to think of your money in the way that I think of your money. It's strictly a number, and it has a goal, and we have to do things to get that goal. And no matter what happens during that time, we have to just keep pushing forward. Most people can't do that. Most people cannot stomach a loss. Most people can't handle long-term gains. So just overall, what you guys could do right now is ignore headline news. And as I will beat this horse until it's 10 feet underground, me and Matt, we have a plan. We make our plan, we stick to it. Do things that are outside forces come in and affect that? Yes. But boxer's mentality says you're going to get punched. So you just have to roll with the punches. You get knocked out. We just roll with the punches. It's just more and more popular to not roll with the punches and post a story about it and you get sympathy. That's the lame stuff. That's what poor people do. Wealthy individuals and proactive individuals and people that make an impact in this world like Matt and I, we get punched probably more than you think we do, but it's what we do when we get punched. That's what you guys have to start understanding with kind of situations like this. You're going to be presented with a pandemic situation again. Somebody is going to take away your ability or stifle your ability to make income. What are you going to do when that happens? Are you going to have the best year of your life like Matt and I? Are you going to push the envelope? Are you going to make decisions that are hard to do? Or are you going to sit back and let somebody make the decisions for you? That's really where it's starting to come down, and the divide is wider and wider and wider. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I'm seeing this year, and this year is really, here's a small group of people that are making it, and here's a small group of people that are waiting for it to be made. And I'm not part of the waiting for it to be made. I'm the ones that make it, and I think you fall there as well.
I think it's just, life in general, and this has been a good, this is a good supporting, statement, I think, to what has happened this year, which is this is one of my favorite quotes, is life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it. Yep. And, if this year didn't teach you that, right, there's a lot of people that leaned into this and said, man, there's a lot of stuff out of my control. There's a lot of stuff I'm freaked out about it, but what can I control? What can I do? What actions can I take on a daily, consistent basis? Who can I surround myself with that are aligned with where I want to go instead of being worried about all the things that are out of my control, right, and all the negative stuff that really was kind of this tornado that sucked so many people into it, and all they could see was the walls of the tornado circling around them all the time. And it's really important, obviously, to be aware of that from a mental, a physical standpoint. And I think that's something that, you got to be aware of, and you got to be very intentional about what you're plugging into and who you're allowing to influence you and what conversations you're participating in, and just the physical environments that you're putting yourself in, because those can make all the difference. And again, I can't control if the wealthy are getting wealthier or the poor are getting poorer. All I know is that I want to be on this path, and I want to be here when I want to be there, and this is the vehicles, and these are the actions that I think align and are congruent with getting me there, right? And so those are the things that I stay focused on and stay really disciplined on, because I know that, there could be another, 2020 and 2040, and there could be another 2020 and a 2040 and 20 whatever, right? I just know that I can control what I can control, through my mind, through my body, and the daily routine and the consistent habits and the people I'm surrounding myself with, and of course, right, the things that I am ultimately putting on my tool belt to help me achieve those goals. Whatever those outcomes are, I have no idea. I'll just take that feedback and I'll continue to tweak and optimize along the way. But I'm playing the long-term game. You guys have heard me say this before when it comes to your wealth building and my real estate assets in stocks. You know, there are, of course, going to be those lightning in a bottle, maybe weeks or days or months or years that are great. But at the end of the day, right, real wealth, real freedom is unlocked in the crock pot, not in the microwave. And a lot of this stuff is not really that sexy. But if you can do it consistently over an extended period of time and you start to see that hockey curve really, you know, go high, that's when it starts to get sexy. Most people never have the discipline or consistency to ever see or unlock that hockey stick curve. And that's what we want for you guys. And that's why we talk about these conversations on the show. So with that being said, you know, shifting over to what we've at least seen in terms of, you know, stimulus and vaccines and some of these positive things that have rolled out over the last, you know, week or two. We're also seeing some, you know, positive stuff in terms of real estate. We all know that the single family market is just ripping. They came out, National Association of Realtors, and a lot of their data that they track came out with some numbers on really strong projections for 2021. Our city, Sacktown, was actually number one in strongest markets for 2021, which is pretty cool. With that being said, though, you know, mortgage forbearance. You know, we've been tracking this, as you guys can see here on the screen. And if you guys aren't, you know, watching this, you're listening to this, you can always head over to YouTube and check out, you know, what kind of visuals we're throwing up on the screen here. But active forbearance plans, I mean, we saw at the peak, it was high in, you know, really in the middle of May. And now, you know, we've seen it slowly begin to drop and trickle down and trickle down. And what we're seeing here is the number of active mortgages in forbearance rose this past week by 37,000 in what has become a trend of mid-month upticks, according to Black Knight's McDash Flash Forbearance Tracker. Say that 5 times fast. Damn. Generally, though, the strongest declines in mortgage forbearance have been in early month as expiring forbearance plans are removed. More than 550 plans are set to expire at the end of December, which could result in a significant decline in forbearances in the first week of January. This will be interesting to see if stimulus money helps any of those investors get out of their forbearance plans, or if they don't decide to extend a little bit further down the road. We can see here overall the number of mortgages in forbearance stand at 2.79 million, or 5.3% of all mortgages, representing $563 billion in unpaid principal. And as you guys can see here in the graph, I mean, we were close to $1 trillion in unpaid principal, and, you know, in close to 5 million. So we're about half of where we were at. So overall, this is positive, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what the first quarter really, I think, and I've been saying this, if you've been listening to the show, I've been saying this for a while. Q1 and Q2 of 2021, I think, is really going to be a good crystal ball for what is ahead. Now, again, we've been getting curveballs thrown at us.
I think it's just going to fall off a little cliff, because look at all these little cliffs.
Yep.
Boom. A little tick up right before.
Boom.
Down. Tick up
Boom.
down.
And they're usually right towards the
every quarter. Look.
Yep.
And this would be another quarter.
So it'll be interesting to see if it ticks up or if it ticks down.
Give me that down.
But what we're seeing here is, you know, there's a lot of people that are unable to pay their mortgages. There's a lot of investors that are really struggling because of the people that can't pay their rent. So what we do know in this, you know, stimulus deal of $900 billion, $25 billion is going to be allocated for emergency assistance for renters. This is not only good for renters, this is also good for landlords. Now, this is going to be interesting because landlords are getting screwed right now, especially in California. California's eviction moratorium may extend into 2022, and we're seeing a lot of people take advantage of this scenario and situation. There's obviously a lot of people that need this support and stimulus, but there's no clear path on how this money, one, is going to get into the renters' hands and distributed, and how it's going to be held accountable to getting into the landlord's hands. And a lot of people just think, hey, if you're a landlord, you own real estate, you must be, rich and have money, climbing out of your pockets and your ears. And that's just not the case. A lot of these small mom and pop landlords, right, have 1, 2, 5 properties, and they're struggling big time right now. They didn't get any stimulus through this last deal. So they still have their mortgage payments, right, which we're seeing a lot of them in this data right here in active forbearance plans. They're still having to pay their property taxes. They're still having to put their utilities. These are all things that they didn't get any support in. So I still believe in 2021 and 2022, we're going to see a lot of opportunistic buys start to trickle in on the single family side. And we already know retail right now, bankruptcies and commercial real estate, hospitality. There's a lot of asset classes in the commercial side that are getting crushed right now. And so there's going to be a lot of repurposing. That's going to be a trend that I think you're going to see people really leverage and utilize moving forward. We're going to see some opportunistic buys in those asset classes too, right? Kind of weather the storm. And as things start to stabilize, hopefully get those asset classes back on track. But commercial real estate is a big question mark for a lot of people right now. But I still think there is specific product that long-term is going to be very solid and strong, pandemic or not. And I made a video on that on YouTube, so you guys can check that out. But overall, with interest rates, right, staying as low as they are, I just think that we're going to see a very strong, stable 2021 in the single-family side, and some very opportunistic buys start to present themselves and trickle into the market in certain asset classes of real estate. Here's the thing, though, guys. At the end of the day, right now, you can continue to track this data, right? We track the data because that's really the closest thing to our crystal ball, right? That's why you're obsessed and waking up at 2 o'clock every morning and tracking everything that's going on in the market. This is why I track all of the data in the real estate sectors, is because that at least gives us, yours is a lot faster moving, but in the real estate world, we can look at a lot of the leading indicators and the lagging results. And therefore, right, a lot of these leading indicators through the data that we're tracking can help us potentially maybe position and get ahead of some of these trends, capitalize on some of these opportunities, so that way you're ready to strike when they are there. Again, I'm not telling you to time the market. I'm just saying this may project and forecast where some of these things may be going and how you may want to insulate yourself or position yourself to take advantage of some of those opportunities. That's the beauty of data. With that being said, most importantly, you need to have a plan, like what we talked about, right? And 2021 is right around the corner. And if there was one thing I wanted for every single listener of this show to do this year, it is to put together a goal plan like you have never planned for your goals before. Not only to have that clarity, so that way you know exactly what actions you need to take, what you need to say yes to, what you need to say no to. I call it my North Star, because when I'm clear on where I'm marching towards, right, it's that much easier for me to say, nope, that's a distraction. That's going to get me off course and away from my plan, versus going, these are the specific things I have planned out, and know that if I do these and execute on these, I'm going to give myself the best chance to win. And a lot of people are lacking that clarity. So I want, hopefully, my call to action and challenge for all of you guys this year, you got, 9 days left in 2020, to have a clear plan that you can hit the ground running on, roll your sleeves up, get in the trenches on, be clear on, and get to work on in 2021. I did, let me grab it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is my vision board. Whoa, that's a big old vision board.
That's a big one.
So I got all of these things on my vision board because this is kind of my 3-year plan of where I see myself going and what I want to achieve. Know what you want and by when, and you can start to reverse engineer action plans and steps that you need to take for getting there. And this is something that you, when getting clear on, right, can be that much more purposeful and intentional with your life and the decisions that you're taking and or not taking. So with that being said, we've got the Rich Life Planner inside the Rich Life Store, www.therichlifestore.com. And there's a questionnaire in there. It's called the Rich Life Clarity Contract. And this will ask you a variety of questions in all of the areas of your life that will help you get clear. Not, hey, I want to make more money, or hey, I want to travel more. It's going to ask you very granular questions that are going to force you and your brain to get clear on exactly what you want. Then you can start to compile all of those things and create goals and milestones and action plans for going and getting that. That has helped me drastically over the years. It's something that I want to help you guys with. You can get it inside the planner, the Rich Life Planner, and you can just go over to the richlifestore.com. You can check that out. And at least if you don't do that right, give yourself a challenge to just do some extra planning this year. So that way you can feel that much more confident, excited, and purposeful about what actions you're taking. Also know we got our, if you're seeing this, the investor sweatshirts. We got investor swag. We got the cash flow shirts, cash flow swag. So if you guys want to check those out, those are also in the Rich Life store. But with that being said, 2021, I'm excited. I'm optimistic. And part of being excited is I know what I'm going to be doing. It's not like, oh, who knows what's going to get thrown at us. I don't really care what gets thrown at us. I know what I am doing. I know what actions I am taking. And whatever does get thrown at me, in front of me, around me, I know that I'm going to find a way to pivot, adapt, and do whatever I got to do to stay on course with the vision that I see for myself, for my wealth, for my family, for my lifestyle, for my friends, for my community. All of the things that I know are important, I've put in. I've told myself, I've told God, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, right, that I have put in the work to make sure that I'm being as intentional, as equipped, as dangerous, as weaponized as I can possibly be. I put in the work, and I can trust in wherever the results fall, right, that I did everything I needed to do to give myself the best chance to win. And that's what I want for you guys as well. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys today. You know, we're going to always be coming back with more news, more updates, more information, market, real estate. We had a couple people reach out this last week asking about, hey, who are you guys going to be ripping and going into on the gurus? Some people said, hey, I want to know your thoughts on Dave Ramsey. Hey, I want to know your thoughts on some other big influencers. We're going to be doing that on some future shows with you guys and giving some of our 2 cents. If there's anybody you want us to do a dissection on as to their courses or their thoughts or their brand, whatever it may be, feel free to text us, 844-447-1555. If you guys have any questions, any comments, you're on YouTube, drop those down below. You can always text them to 844-447-1555 if you're a listener to the show. Don't forget, take advantage of all of our free resources and downloads that we have available in the show description on the MillionaireMindcast.com website. Hit Ryan up for a free financial X-ray.
Do it.
Or if you guys want to know more about life insurance, becomethebank.info. Head over there, set up a free consultation call with him. Credit investors, jump on my deals list. Deals to 844-447-1555. With that being said, guys, Merry Christmas. Have a great one with your family. Enjoy this time. You know, this is what life's all about, right? Is enjoying the time with the people that you love and care about most. Money is not everything, but it does make things a whole lot better.
Oh, yeah.
With that being said, happy investing. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers, my friends.